Okay, so today I'm going to show you how to make a graph using the data that you collected. So you'll notice I've now set up a process data table, and I've taken the 3 trials that I had and I found an average by adding the 3 trials together and divided them by 3, and I found the range, which is just the highest number in your of the 3 trials, subtract the lowest number, and that'll give you the range. So to make the graph, I'm only going to use the temperature, which is my independent variable, and the time it takes to fall in the cup, which is my dependent variable. So I'm going to copy this data, and I'm going to put it into a spreadsheet on Google Sheets. So if you weren't already in a Google Doc, you're now going to open up Sheets. You can just Google Sheets, and if you're logged into your Ranksum account, that should be fine. So I'm going to copy my data here. Oh, that's not cooperating. Let's try again. Nope, still not cooperating. We'll just put one more time. Copy, paste. There we go. Now it's cooperating. Okay, so now I've got my data in here. It's important that you have your independent variable here and your dependent variable here. The other thing that's important is that there's no units, there's only numbers in these sections. If there are units, it will not make your graph properly. So if you follow the steps that I say, and then when you go and make a graph, it doesn't work, double check that you haven't written seconds. If you have written seconds next to each one, you need to delete that so that Google Sheets can read it as a number. So what I'm going to do now to make my graph, I'm just going to highlight all of my data. If you include the headings, then it'll include that in your graph. So you do want to do that, but it's not the end of the world if you don't. Then I'm going to press insert, and I'm going to scroll down to chart. Now, when I do that, it's going to automatically give me a bar graph, and that's not what I want. For our science labs, we're almost always going to use a scatter plot graph. So you'll need to scroll down in these graphs and find the scatter plot, and there it is. So that's the one I'm going to pick. Do not pick a line graph. You do want a scatter plot. When I click on that, you'll notice it changes into a scatter plot graph. It looks beautiful. I've got a title, I've got a heading on both axes, and both axes say what the unit is, which is also really important. Now, what I want to do now is just show you, in case it didn't work and you didn't get headings for your axes, I'll show you how to do that. If you go to customize and then you go to chart axes and titles, you can change the title. So if I wanted to change the chart title, I type something in here. I'm going to leave it the way it is because I like it, or actually I'm not. Let's go and double check what it looks like in the design lab document, and let's try to follow the same kind of title that they use. So if we scroll down, oh, now this document's not liking me. We're going to scroll down a little bit further, and you'll see they have their title in the form, the relationship between the independent variable and the dependent variable. So why don't we do that too? So I'm going to change this to the relationship, whoops, it's doing funny things, the relationship between my independent variable, which is temperature of the syrup, and the time it takes to fall into the cup. So now I've put it in that same form that they had in the design lab guide, which we always want to use. Okay. If I did want to add a horizontal axis title, I already have it as temperature, which is great. But if I wanted to change it, I would just click that there. Okay. And the horizontal title again is this one. If I wanted to change it, the vertical title, I would just click that, and then I could edit it in here. Okay. The last thing that I always want you to add to your tables is what is called a line of best fit, or a trend line. So what we're going to do in order to do that is we're going to click on series. So again, I went to customize, then I clicked on series, and I'm just going to click this thing that says trend line. And you'll notice once I do that, boom, I have this beautiful line of best fit. So now my graph is done. That was pretty easy. That's all you need to do. So you're just going to press. See how I saw, sorry, I'll explain this. I saw these 3 dots up here, and I'm going to click those so that I can copy my chart or my graph. Okay, so press copy chart, and then I'm just going to go right back to my Google Doc, And I am going to find on here the place that it says graph, and under that, I'm just going to paste in my graph. Okay, now on here, it's going to give me two options. It's better to link it to your spreadsheet because if you change any numbers in your spreadsheet, it'll automatically update it in your Google Doc. But if you paste it unlinked, it's fine. You just won't be able to change it. Okay, so I'm going to link it to my spreadsheet. And there it is. So that is how you enter a graph into your Google Doc. All done. Now I need to find the off button for this video. So now this video is going to continue until I can find